What's going on, everybody? We are back. Thank you for being with us. Sorry, couldn't get it out on this Monday night. It's still Knicks Fans Weekly once again. You know, I'm Ron. That's John over there. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, man. Looking forward to tonight's show. We have a great guest in store for us tonight.
Do we?
I think we do.
Oh, yes, we do. Yeah, man, I'm very excited about this. You know, it's a long time coming to be able to be in a position where we're able to talk to people that we really enjoy watching. It's on the same wavelength as us. As Knicks fans, you know, sometimes we're like, man, I wish somebody would tell somebody this. And guess what? This gentleman will do it. So that's why I'm really excited to have him here. I know the chat was buzzing, Twitter was buzzing, Instagram was buzzing. People are really excited to see him, which is crazy because, you know, we see him all the time and we love him. And just the fact that he's here, I can't thank him enough for being with us. And I want to tell you guys, thank you, chat, for bearing with us. We just had a couple technical difficulties we were trying to work out and make sure that the show was good for you guys, make sure the audio and visual is okay, and that you guys can hear us okay. And obviously, if there's any issues in the chat, please let us know so maybe we can do something to correct it and make the experience as good as we can for you. Shout out to, let me just shout you guys out real quick because I know you've been waiting. Shout out to David L, King Poppy, Dripmore, JJ, Alawise, G-Man, Scotty P, Cormega, Keith Turner, Geraldine McIver, Worldwide L, Yankees Morning Brew, William Turnbull, Angel Torres, Kerry Cox, Nick Yak.
Nick fanatics are out here tonight.
Yes, appreciate all you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for rocking with us. Now, without further ado, you may know this guys from certain hits like "Don't Leave Your Girl Around Me." No, I'm just playing. Now, you know him from really good programming. He's Barton Hahn on ESPN. He's, you know, a part of the MSG crew, which honestly, you guys know how we feel about our MSG programming. As Knicks fans, we don't want to watch the game being called by any other broadcast. We don't want to see the pregame, the halftime, the postgame by anybody else. We rock with MSG alone. And that is primarily due to, you know, the great Wally Zerbiak, my guy, Alan Hahn, who I'm just about to get into bringing on here. Let me tell you something. If you don't know who Alan Hahn is, you've been living under a brick, man. I don't know what to tell you. Alan Hahn has been around forever. I appreciate him so much. I'm going to tell him right now in his face, you know, thank you for being here with us and welcome Alan Hahn to the show, guys.
And let's not forget, clap it up. Let's not forget also Bill Pito.
Bill Pito, yes, the wonderful Bill Pito, yes. That's why John is the co-host, because he keeps me on the square.
So you were trying to get Pito's name out. You know,
yeah,
first of all, thanks for having me.
I was about to call him Rick Pito, and I said, I'm not going to say Rick Pito. I'm not doing it.
I mean, it's great. It's great to hang with you guys. I'm glad we can make this work. Let's first of all, when you said that you were excited about the guest and it was somebody that, you know, was exciting to have on the show, I was like, well, who the hell is that? Because it's just me. And, you know, I'm like thinking, like, am I next? Like, is there somebody coming on before me? So, you know, that was cool. I love what you said about, you know, I was the same way too. Like, if the game was on national and on MSG, I'm like, man, the hell with national. Like, I'm watching this game. This is, you know, you watch with your family. Like, that's the thing I always like to say when we're splitting a game and we know like TNT or ESPN has the game. I'll always tweet out like, watch with your family, because that's, you know, that's kind of how we try to have that approach with the broadcast. So, you know, I mean, I appreciate it. And I also appreciate you saying that I've been around forever, because that makes me feel really old. So I feel a certain way about that right now, but I digress.
Another great reason why we're so happy to have Alan here. I mean, it's not just his basketball smarts, how he gives the information to us. We can digest it great. It's also, you know, his sense of humor. He's a real fun guy and I mean, you could see it, and witness it in person here. Like, this is great. I wanted to tell you, if I haven't already told you, I might have mentioned something, I don't know, in an email or something, but I really appreciate the way you let Max know about what was going on with our New York Knicks. Man, Max needed to know from somebody. And I was like, who could tell him? It had to be Alan Hahn. It had to be.
Yeah, Max. Max feels a certain way. I always feel like he's, he's down deep. He's a Knicks fan. I think he just couldn't take the pain anymore and decided that he was just going to leave. He just left home, and there's part of him that still feels a pull. Like I'll be back. I'll come back, but now he's being stubborn about it. So he's like. You know how it is. It's like, say, you get that, you had a girl, she's, you can't be with her anymore, but she's with somebody else now. And you just part of you wishes you were still with her. But you publicly, to your friends, you find every reason, nah, man, you ever go out to dinner with her? She never can choose anything. You sit there all night. She won't pick anything off the menu, right? It's always he'll find all the little things wrong. And you just look at him really? You're going there? So I like to do that with Max. I like to mess with him because I always tell him, deep down, you still are a fan. You just can't, you just can't get yourself back to that point yet. Somewhere along the way, you got hurt. You went too far, and you were just being too stubborn to come back home. And I think he will come back home at some point. But when he does some of the things that he does, a lot of times to entertain people, a lot of times to get you to react, because he knows how sensitive Knicks fans can be about things. He likes to do that. He likes to needle a little bit. He's like, well, I'm miserable, so I'm going to make everybody miserable too. And there are times where you let him go, and then there are times where you're like, hey, no. Don't put that out there in the world. People, you have a show. People believe things you say. You can't be irresponsible with the things you're saying. You want to needle fans, you can needle fans. That's fine. But when you start putting out information that is incorrect, that's where I've got to edit. I got to come in, I got to, control alt delete you a little bit and make sure that you get your facts straight and, you aren't putting misinformation on the world. Because in New York, if you're on New York airwaves, the people who know will just turn you off. He doesn't know. But when you're doing it nationally, there's people in LA, they don't know. Portland, Chicago, they don't know. So they're thinking, well, Max, it sounds like a New Yorker. He must know what he's talking about. Wow, that must be really what's true. And that's why, a couple of times, including recently on his show, when I was, on and we were talking Knicks and he started going somewhere, I said, no, you're not doing that. And let's just make sure the whole country understands that that's not accurate. So it's all in good fun, though. It's all passion for a team that when they're winning, we all know the whole city lights up and all around the country. I've seen it. When I traveled covering the team, I've been on the road with the team. When the team is good, that 13 season. I mean, there's been seasons where I've been around this team on the road, and it's the Beatles. Everybody comes out of the woodwork as the diehard Knicks fans. It's just when things don't go well around the country, Knicks fans just get a little quiet. They don't want you to know.
Hey, that's a fact. That's a fact. You know what that reminds me of? That you when you were speaking of that, it reminds me of the 5EO, song, the New York song, with Alicia Keys singing, he lost the love. You know what I mean? So that's what it reminds me of.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just that kind of relationship right now, and I understand it. But I always say I think he just needs to be rehabilitated. I don't think Max is a bad guy. I just think he needs to be rehabilitated. That's all.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna say that I'm gonna have to see the rehabilitation happen first, but I'm with you.
He ain't bringing that noise back to New York City, though. He come back to New York City, man. Hell's Kitchen don't want him no more. I'm telling you.
No, maybe. But I just have a hard time. I'm not really big on pushing people out. I'm not really big on hating. I'm I like to bring people together. So I always feel deep down, there was a place for you. It meant something to you. It'll come back. It'll come back at some point.
Yeah.
And it would help if things with this franchise, got in the right direction and started showing the fruits of some of the labor of draft picks and, collecting picks and all that other stuff and developing players. It's got to start showing. And as I said, when it does, there's no place like here when it comes to winning. And all you have to do is just look at not only last May when the team won a playoff game, or not last May now, 2 Mays ago, won a playoff game, how the streets were flooded like it was a championship, or the season opener from last year where they went in double overtime, was it triple overtime against the Celtics, and outside our window at the network, 7th Avenue is closed again, just like it was, earlier that spring in the playoffs. It was closed because it was just mayhem on the streets because people were happy about their team. So that's what, to me, that's what, when people say, like, why do you hang on? Why do you care so much? Why do you do what you do? And I always say, because I know that I want to be here to witness it when it gets right. Because when it gets right, there'll be nothing like it. There'll be nothing like it. And, you'll go through some frustrations just to hope for that one chance at the lottery and, or that one chance where it all just comes together and, you could really see what we grew up watching. I was kind of too young to really get it. And I want to know what that's like.
Right. I agree with you. I want to just shift course for a little bit and we'll come back to the Knicks because I know the chat is definitely, they want to hear everything you have to say. I know they're hanging on every word. But I actually want to know a little bit about Alan Hahn. I think we owe it to ourselves to find out a little bit about who you are and what, how you became this person that covers the Knicks as well as other sport teams, but like your love of sports. When did that start for you?
Just born into it, like probably a lot of people. My parents were sports fans. My mother especially, she was a huge baseball fan. Loved baseball, grew up with the Brooklyn Dodgers. She was grew up in Queens, and Brooklyn Dodgers, that was my grandfather's team. That was her team. My dad was a Mets fan because my mother became a Mets fan when they were, when the Mets became a team in '62. National League team came back into town, and they both gravitated towards that. And again, they both grew up in Queens, and that's sort of just was part of it, right? They're both hockey fans as well. They both love the Rangers, and they both love to watch hockey. And so I kind of grew up with that, with baseball, and I'm the black sheep of the family. So everybody was Mets, and I saw Chris Chambliss. I was a little kid. I wasn't even 5 years old. But because it's on my TV, they watch sports all the time. So I saw it, and it was like, blew my mind, and then they win. And then Bucky Dent, I was a little more, I was only almost 7 years old, Bucky Dent. No, I was 7 years old when Bucky Dent happened. And that was just phenomenal to me. So again, I got into it, because now, I'm 7 is like a impressionable age. So I became a Yankees fan, which broke their heart. And then in 79, so they were Rangers fans too. 79, the Rangers played the Islanders in the playoffs. And the Islanders were the best team in the league. They had the best record in the league. But the Rangers were good. And the Rangers beat them in the playoffs. And they were watching on TV again. And they were celebrating. They were excited. They were like, yeah, like beat them and all. And I'm looking at the screen. And again, now this is 79, so I'm 8 years old. And I see dejected Islander players with the crest. And, they were Queens people. I grew up on Long Island. They moved out to the island. I was born out there. So I saw these guys that were crestfallen. And I was like, man, wait a minute. Aren't we from Long Island? Shouldn't we be rooting for them? And they were like, no. We're all about the Rangers. I'm like, you know what? No, I'm rooting for that team from now on. I don't care that they lost. That's my home team. I'm rooting for them. And they were mad at me, but it worked out because they won the next 4 Stanley Cups. So that was a pretty good decision by me. All right, so there's that. So then that Christmas in 1980, I get a Richard Todd Jets jersey. Just random green number 14 Richard Todd Jets jersey. I didn't ask for it, just given to me. So I put it on and all right, I'm a Jets fan. Sack exchange, right? Like I was into that. So I became a Jets fan just off that. My parents were not football fans. Like it wasn't there was a jersey. They bought it. The Jets were good that year. That's it. So I was hooked. Again, you see where I'm going here, right? With the heartache.
I get it.
And then, so I never really, I played baseball, I played hockey in the street, but I really didn't play anything organized growing up. My parents, we didn't grow up with a lot of money. So both my parents worked a lot. I couldn't really, go to like travel games. I couldn't do any of that stuff. So it was more just playing for fun. But in sixth grade, 7th grade, I had a growth spurt. And all of a sudden, I just shot up. And my dad was 6'8", and so somebody just said, "Hey, you need to get him playing basketball." I never played basketball. I didn't know anything about it. So they put me in a basketball camp, and it was 1984, 83, 84, whatever it was. Yeah. And so I just started watching basketball. Well, what do you do if you're in New York and I always was like, who's the New York team? The Knicks. That's my team. And Christmas Day, Bernard King. That's my guy. Wow. Whoa, this guy. And then I got into St. John's and the Big East and Georgetown and the rivalry and Syracuse and all. I really loved Big East basketball. So I got Patrick Ewing. The Knicks win the lottery. They get Patrick Ewing. And now I'm in. I'm all in. And that was it. I mean, that did it for me. Seeing them win the lottery and get Patrick and having the best player in the country on your team and watching him dunk on Moses Malone in the first game. Then I became the guy I was watching every night. My parents always watched MSG because of hockey. And the Knicks would be on, sometimes it'd be on the background. But because I was playing basketball, I was watching more and more. And I was watching a lot of Big East at the time as well. And then I just got because of Ewing, I got into the Knicks. And I was hooked. I went to Providence camp, and Rick Pitino was the coach at Providence. I was in high school at that time. And Pitino was a guy from Long Island. So, of course, again, provincial, that's how I am. Okay, well, Rick Pitino's from Long Island. Well, damn it, that's my guy. And he took Providence to the Final Four. And he's what? He's now the Knicks coach? You know what I mean? So it just, everything kept pushing me towards them to a point where, by the time Riles took over, I was obsessed. Obsessed. I had played a little bit of college basketball. I wasn't very good, but I played college basketball, but I watched the Knicks religiously as I was coming up through high school and playing in college. And it was always about Ewing, and it was always about the Knicks. And, it sounds crazy, but I just said, I know I'm never going to get to play pro, but if I can't play, I want to cover the Knicks. I wanted to be John Andres. You remember John Andres? Johnny Hoops?
I do. I do.
Yep. John Andres, God rest his soul. John Andres was the guy that I looked at and I said, I want to do what he does. He looks like he's having a great time. He loves what he's doing. And I just said, and he didn't, he wasn't a Knick. He played at Fordham. He was a really good college player. But I'm in my head, I'm like, I could do, if he could do, I could do it. I don't have to be a former player. I could, find a way to, carve a niche and find my way there somehow, some way. And, little by little, I went to, got a journalism degree, went to college, got into Newsday, worked my way up and to a point where they gave me the Knick beat. And I know it's a long story, but you asked me, so I'm giving it to you.
We want to hear it. Thank you for sharing.
The thing that I think will give everybody chills, it always does to me, is in 2006, my father passed away suddenly. And I had always wanted the Knick beat. I was actually on the Islanders beat at the time at Newsday, and I'd been there for 6 years on that beat. And I never thought I'd get the Knick beat at that point because they were always finding reasons for me not to get the job. There was either a better candidate, they didn't want to move me, whatever it was. 2006, he passes away in July 26th, 2006. And literally the day after we bury him, the editor calls me. And I think they're just checking in on me, how you feeling, all that stuff. And he's like, I know this is a tough time. He's like, but I want to ask you a question. He's like, are you interested in the Knicks beat? Mm-hmm. And I was like, you're asking me this now? And I almost started crying because it was like, my dad did that. I just felt that way. My dad did that. It had to be divine intervention. It had to be something where it's he knew, you got to go in this direction. Because from that day to today, my life has never been the same. It has never been the same. And so,
wow,
I never thought I was going to get the beat. I had given up on trying. I just said, I'll just be a hockey writer. This will be fine. I'll be fine. And just days after he passed, they offer it to me, and I never saw it coming. Out of the blue, just offered it to me, and I was like, hell yeah, I'll take it. And my life has changed from that. Changed because
That's
again,
beautiful.
years later, MSG brings me in, and I start working at MSG, and then ESPN catches what I'm doing, and then they bring me in, and now nothing, like I don't have anything if not for that moment. And I really, I believe in this stuff, and I just believe that might have been one of those things where my dad was looking down saying, you need to go in this direction, son, and it has to start today. So 100%. That's it in a nutshell.
I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better explanation and so much more from that. That's incredible. I mean, wow, that's unbelievable. I don't know. I don't think I've heard you really go into depth about this. I mean, I try to follow what you have going on, but I definitely appreciate you doing it here. If you've done it before, thank you for doing it again. But that's an incredible story. Yeah. And I think you're right. I think that I do believe in divine intervention. And in that case, I think maybe that was definitely, your father speaking to you in different ways. And look, we're all better for it because we love how you do your job and what you do. You're a lot of our for a lot of Knicks fans, you're one of our favorites. And that's because this is what I feel you were meant to do. So thank you.
Yeah. I appreciate you saying that, because the one thing I always try to remind myself all the time is just appreciate everything. Like, take nothing for granted. Like, even the little moments, like after a while when you do things, you kind of get numb to it, right? Like, it just happens. Right. But I'm not even like, I'm dead serious. Like, I'm just real talk with you guys. Like, every time I'm in that building, like little things that happen, like if I'm on Garden Vision for 15 seconds, I always am like, oh, damn, like I'm on Garden Vision, because I always think of that guy that was the fan. Like, my back to the brick wall up in the Blues watching Brian Quinnett in 1991, like playing against Michael Jordan. Like, I'm that kid, like, who would just dream of what is it like to just stand down there on that court. I said this one time on MSG. It was during the pandemic, and so no fans, no anything like that in the building. And the Knicks were on the road, and they decided that the Garden was empty that night, and they said, "Hey, we're going to do a broadcast from the Garden floor, where your pregame, halftime, and postgame, you're on the court." And I thought, that's awesome, right? So it's empty building. It's me, Bill Pito, and some, the camera people and the audio people and all the text, everybody that makes it happen. But it's just Bill and I sitting there. And he was just like, hey, you want to grab a ball? You want to get some shots up? And I said, no, I'm never shooting on this court. Like, I'm not worthy to shoot on this court. And people made fun of me, like they mocked it, like as if I was being facetious, or as if I was just, being overly dramatic. Like, oh, give me a break. What kind of people shoot on that court all the time. It's no big deal. It might not be no big deal to you, but to me, it's like, I didn't earn it. Like, I look at that place as special. So I don't know. That's how I see it. I see it every time before we go on the air in the building, before we do something. I'm always just like, man, this is still a dream come true to do this. And I don't forget how a fan watching feels, because I remember how I felt watching when I was the fan, when I was watching MSG and, games, and how I felt and what I was thinking after a game, what I wanted to hear and all that stuff. And I try to, as much as I can, connect to that. I try never to let go of that feeling of, don't forget, like, what a fan wants right now, what he's thinking, what he's feeling.
No, that's great. John,
well, listen, I will say, as a fan and a fan of yours, that once the day comes that you decide to hang it up as a New York journalist or beat writer, and that time ends for you, you have earned the right to shoot on that court. Just want to say that. So please do.
By then, hopefully, I can't lift my arms up over my head, right? Like, hopefully, I can't even lift my hands up.
Hopefully. But I think at that point, I think, it would be a great sort of, end piece for you, because I think you've earned that position. You know what I mean?
You guys saw me, by the way.
We as Knicks fans. Say that again.
I appreciate it. I know. I was going to say, just so also everybody knows, when you were talking about how you were working through some technical issues, why this show started late, well, you blame me. Tell everybody what happened. I got everything hooked up. I was trying to be all professional with a nice camera, very professional camera, and a microphone set and the whole thing, and nothing worked. And these poor guys are waiting for me as I'm trying to figure out, like, I felt like the old man in the room, like, how do I use the computer? Like, I was a mess. And these guys are so patient with me. But as you, again, so if it ever got to that point where it's like, okay, go ahead, Alan, take that last shot. And if I missed it, I got to take another shot, guys. No, I can't leave when I miss.
It's so good.
You know how I am. I'm that neurotic. So it's better I don't shoot at all, because if I miss, it'll stay with me forever. It'll be miserable.
That's why we got the editing room floors for that reason alone. You can chuck up 40, 50. We just gotta make one work.
Maybe.
Don't worry about it. We can get you like a nice Alan Hahn follow through and a Curry splash. It's fine. No one knows the difference.
That's right. Good edits.
But you know
Nothing
what?
like it.
Listen, Alan, you know, we never look. It's like the customer's always right. And I'm learning on this side of things. Never blame the guest. So it's all on us. Don't worry about it.
Smart. That's a good host. Good host does that. Good host does that. No doubt about it.
I didn't know if you were going to say something else, John. If you had a question or something, I didn't want to step on your toes.
No. I think one of the what was I thinking of? I just wanted to say that because I think that for me was would be a great, you know, end to sort of round out your legacy.
Well,
but I think
enough about me. Everybody's here to talk Knicks. Enough about me.
No, but here's the thing that we do enjoy watching you is that you hold no punches, right? You say how it is. You know, even when Wally's out of kilt and is like, you know, sort of playing devil's advocate, you're always keeping them on point with saying, you know, we have to follow the trajectory of our Knicks, you know, and see good or bad or indifferent, you know, we have to ride with this team. And I think that's very important, at least for Knicks fans. When we're watching, we're sort of we want to be optimistic a bit. You know what I mean? Just as fanatics.
Oh yeah. No. Everybody wants the truth, but nobody wants just constant just dumping water on it all the time too. You want to have look. I need to give you a reason to watch the next game, right? So if I'm constantly just trashing the team, why are you watching, right? Like, you don't want it to be that. So there's always, you have to give both perspectives. But everybody should know this, though, too, about our broadcast. I'm really proud of, what we've done. This will be 10 years, by the way, Wally and I working together.
Awesome.
10 years this coming season.
Wow.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. Yeah, right? And speaking of mix, you add, in the last couple of years, Monica McNutt, who I absolutely love.
Love it.
And Monica has also added just another element that almost is like between us. And so Wally and I, when we usually do our back and forth or sometimes our fight, Monica now jumps in the middle, and it makes it funnier because she'll either choose a side and one of us is now it's 2-on-1, whoa, it's that, or she'll rip on both of us we're both crazy, which makes it even better. So I love the group we have, the mix we have. But a lot of people ask me, are you told what to say? Are you given, is there a script? Is there regulations? Is all that stuff? And I try to tell people, no. I mean, the post game starts literally seconds after the game ends. After the game ends. So whatever's the first thing I'm thinking of, that's where we're going. It's not always going to be on point. Sometimes it's going to take a minute to really get to, I really want to get here. It's not that easy, but it's completely ad-lib. There's no prompter. There's nothing. It's Bill Pito opens the show, get to your first thoughts, and here come the highlights. And sometimes the first thought leads to one of us looking at the other guy going, what? No. And then we just start, doing what we do. But that's, I think, what we do in the post game, especially when we do battle, is probably what a lot of fans do while they're watching. Same thing.
Oh yeah.
You're watching with your buddy, like you guys. You guys can't possibly watch a game and agree on everything. There's no way you guys sit together, watch a game, and agree.
Yeah.
Right? So
it's not happening.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
So that's my point.
On
so
a
that's
lot of things, but not everything.
But that's what makes it fun. It's the different perspectives, and it's the battle, it's the debate, and then every now and then it's the did I convince you? Oh, I got you. It's the I can pull out a stat or two and then hand it to him, and he can just say all right, well, and then he hope. But that's what makes it fun and entertaining, and that's kind of what I think it's supposed to be all about. So, that's what we do, and like I said, this year 10 years. I mean, 10 years we've been doing it together.
Awesome.
That's quite a run.
That's unbelievable. And I'll just be honest, I'm not saying it to bring it back to my teams, but I never thought you guys were scripted. By just some of the stuff you say and what Wally says, you could tell the dynamic is real and what comes. It's just even if you're not a Met fan, if you watch SNY and watch Keith Hernandez and Ron Darling talk, Like, you never know what Keith Hernandez is going to say. So, like, you can tell, like, it's a different, and that's why we love it so much.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. It's relatable.
For the first place Met fans out there.
Oh, boy.
I was going to throw that out there, did you? Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, just throwing that out there. All right. You know, I'll tell you what, though, isn't it very typical of Met fans to really make August the most important month, right?
It's true. It's a fact. He also made May an important month as well this year, which was amazing.
We used to be the champs of April, then it extended to May, then July. Now, listen, I'm going to keep it going.
Yeah. Hang on in August. That's what it's about.
Alan's a lot like me. Jeter. My dad was a Mets fan, and for some odd reason, I turned into a Yankee fan. I think my close knit friends, older brothers type, they were Yankee fans, and so I gravitated to the Yankees really quick.
Yeah, for me it was just
smart
easy because they just won all the damn
Mistakes
time.
That's can be made. It's okay. It's all right. Hey, Knicks fans, Brasil is in the building. What's up, Victor?
Salute, Victor.
That's a good man.
All right, guys. So now, I think we heard a little bit about Alan's story, which is a fantastic story. You can't ask for more, man. Thank you for sharing that with us. And now I think we'll get back into what you guys want to talk about, your New York Knicks. I know you're chomping at the bit. Listen, I'm going to get this out the way, Alan. Look, John is looking at me with a side eye. I'm not asking for me because I pretty much kind of know how things are, and I don't care either way. Look at him. Some fans out there may want to know just your opinion. Do you think the Donovan Mitchell deal is dead? If it was to happen, do you think they still? Yeah,
not dead. Not dead. On vacation is how I'll put it. But not dead. This will be explored again in a couple of weeks, and there'll be some more conversations before training camp. Now, again, does it get accomplished before the season starts? I don't know because there are both sides clearly have their limit as far as they're willing to go, and so with neither side having any pressure to get a deal done immediately. This could be something that lingers throughout the season. And if the Jazz are not competitive, if the Jazz really fall out of things, then you can see them maybe try to reignite conversations before the trade deadline in February. That's if nothing gets done. And, then by then it'll be, all right, well, there's 3 years left on the deal now, or 3 and change left. It's 4, he's locked up. So I think it's 4, it might be 3. But the point is that there's no urgency on either side. Like, those draft picks aren't going anywhere from now until February anyway. And the Knicks clearly, and you can understand why. For everything that I've heard, and I'm not giving you anything brand new. I mean, this is stuff that Woj and Windy and many people who know their stuff and have great sources have reported. The Knicks are fine with giving up draft picks to get a player of that caliber. But what they don't want to do, and it's understandable, is give up multiple prospects and draft picks. Like prospects meaning, guys, 23 years old and younger who might not be starters, but are like, here's how I'll put it. From the deals you've seen reported, there's players being mentioned that if I'm in the Knicks front office, I'm looking at the Jazz front office and I'm saying, you don't value these guys like we do. Like, they're players that we need in our rotation that you just want them so that the deal looks like you won the deal. Like, you're not looking at a guy saying, yeah, we want him because he's going to be an all-star. You're not looking at him like that. But we're looking at these guys saying, we need him in our rotation. This guy can play. He's going to play major minutes. So you just want to take him just to take him. You don't have to. You just want to. And look at the framework of the Rudy Gobert deal. What did the Timberwolves give up besides draft picks in that deal? Patrick Beverley, we love him, but he's a veteran, right? Was it Malik? Was it Beasley? Like who they right? I mean, they didn't give up like any young talent. So if you're getting that for Rudy Gobert, who you could argue is a way more accomplished player than Donovan Mitchell, how am I giving up more? for him. So that's where I think they're starting to, butt heads about. It's not necessarily, boy, you really love this player. Like, you really got to have that guy off my roster because you just love him. Not really. I love that guy. I need him. You just want to take him from me, so you gut my roster a little bit. So when Donovan comes to a team that he wants to play for, they're a little bit like they're bleeding a little bit. Like, they're not as good as they could be. So that's the part I think that they've got to come to a place where, they're comfortable. I don't think it's the draft picks. The draft picks is not the issue in the deal. I do think it's the amount of young talent that they're trying to take off the roster as well. And the Knicks are kind of, put the brakes on it for now. Now, like I said, I do expect that there'll be more talks once kind of everybody gets back and back in their offices in September, getting ready for training camp, which is in the last week of September, first week of October.
I think that makes sense. I mean, that seems very sensible, and it's kind of what I expected you to say, because I think that is the most sensible approach at this moment. And it looks like there's no urgency. We want it to happen on the Knick end. There's a lot of fans.
Yeah, there's urgency because we all are impatient. Yeah. The urgency
right.
And that's honestly what I think the Jazz, whether it's Danny Ainge, whether it's the GM slipped my mind, they're trying to prey off of media intensity, media coverage, fan intensity, pressure, that kind of thing of get it done now, get it done now, get it done now. And what I like about the Knicks approach is it's sort of this, like, we're in no hurry. Like, this guy's going to be, he's not, like, he'll be there. No one can offer as many picks as we can. He'll be there.
Okay.
And so, we can wait this one out a little bit, and then you see where they are at some point. As I mentioned, would they love to have him? Absolutely, they would love to have him. Now, can they make a deal? That still remains to be seen. But if nothing, and I will say this, if nothing gets done by the start of training camp, by even the start of and we're going to find out this week when the season, the schedule comes out this week. We'll know when the season's going to open. Whoever it is they're opening against, wherever it is, he might not be a Knick on that night, but it doesn't mean that it won't happen, whether it's, December when you can trade more people, whether it's February before the deadline. It's not going to be something that is completely dead unless, of course, they decide to go to another team. But if they do that, they are risking a large draft capital return that only this team can give them.
Right. Agreed. Shout out to the chat. Thank you guys for joining us. If you're just joining right now, we are talking with the wonderful Alan Hahn. And you're tuned into a really good one. And if you're just tuning in now, make sure after this is over, you watch the replay because you don't want to miss it. Also want to give a special shout out to my guy, Jay Boogie. Thank you for the generous super chat. We appreciate you as always. And I did mention you a little earlier to Alan, so maybe he tells Wally what you said.
Yes, music's coming. We're looking forward, Jay Boogie. Looking forward.
There you go. Thank you for that, Alan. And also definitely salute to Pudge Nice. Thank you for the generous super chat as well. He says, salute Alan. Is Randall gone after the Spider deal? Ooh, controversy.
It's a great question. That's one of the concerns is, okay, so Jalen Brunson is going to be a guard that is a scoring guard, dominates the ball. And then if you bring in Mitchell, he obviously is a scoring guard who dominates the ball. RJ Barrett has got to score, right? He is also a guy that will drive to the rim and drive to the basket. How does it all fit with a Julius Randle who is used to dominating the ball, who really for the last 2 years has the ball's going, the plays have run through him. He's been the facilitator. He's sort of been a guy that has been running a lot of the offense. Can he adjust to be an option instead of the main option? Or, would they have to find a place, for him to go so you get more spacing at the 4 spot rather than somebody that's going to sit in the high post or the mid post and take up space that you want your drivers. I mean, Brunson does all his work in the paint. And Mitchell, same thing, really does a lot of mid-range into the paint kind of driving, using his body. Hard to do that if you've got a guy that's drawn a lot of attention defensively, and you already have Mitchell Robinson, who's really not going to be stretching the floor in any sense. So, fit is another major concern and something that would have to be considered. So, I don't think it's a bad question to ask. I think it's something that probably will have to be looked at, and then you adjust accordingly. Would it be immediate? I don't expect it to be immediate if they make a deal. Like, let's say a deal happens in September. I don't think it'll be like a piggyback kind of situation. But I do think it's something that they have to watch because fit is going to be a huge concern.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes a
nice
lot
breakdown.
of sense. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to ask you. I have a question that I want to ask you, but before I get to that, I want to get to something that you put on Twitter because you tweeted out to everybody for opening night. Who would you guys like to see as the opening night matchup? I responded. I said that I would like to see either Dallas, Atlanta, or Brooklyn. I don't care, either one. That'd be great for me. But John, I wanted to get your opinion on it. Is there a team that you'd like the Knicks to play opening night?
I don't know. We did so well against Boston the year before, so I wouldn't mind.
Boston's always our go-to.
Be careful. Yeah, be careful what
because
you wish.
We have Fournier, right? And he comes up with 40-plus games every time.
He is the lucky killer, isn't he? I mean, he dominates them.
I'm going to roll the
dice.
dice.
So I don't need to see Boston that early in the season. I would rather. Now I know Atlanta is an obvious one, but I've kind of gotten tired of that one. It'd be nice. Start the season off against a bad team. like Brooklyn, it's immediately, it's already like play somebody who stinks.
Let's not do Orlando because we can't beat Orlando.
Not Orlando.
Oh, how about that?
Let's not do Orlando.
Yeah. Nobody that needs any unnecessary motivation, right? Yeah, that's true too. That could always backfire as well. But yeah, no, I pass on Brooklyn. I don't save that for some other time. Pass on Boston. Yeah, right. Like, you know what? Been a while, right? How about Indiana?
Yeah.
How about Indiana? That rivalry's kind of gone quiet. Why not Indiana? But it always seems that they play somebody significant in the season opener. It usually is some type of a marquee matchup kind of game. So, could it be like Chicago? Could it be something like that? Miami? Could it be a Western Conference team? Like everybody's saying Dallas because of Brunson and Luka and like how that will go. So, I mean, maybe Dallas. Maybe you get something like that. But I just have a feeling it's going to be a team that's got like marquee status to make it a high level game, not an insignificant game.
The Lakers. Worldwide L says the Lakers. That's interesting.
Yeah, the league will never waste a Laker-Knick game either at LA or the Garden as a season opener. Right. No. They'll always use those. And
that's why I don't think
always
Utah would happen.
January. Like, that's when you get those games because you need them. You need the high rating, the high big markets playing each other at that time of year.
Right. Yeah. Sim from NothinButKnicks. Shout out to you. Appreciate you. He says Dallas. Yeah, Dallas is an interesting one because it's Nick West, and it's also the whole Jalen Brunson thing makes it interesting.
Yeah, that's a good one. That would make it a really big story, especially if it was at Dallas, right? You do that. Remember, Luka plays at the Garden. Luka's terrible when he plays at the Garden. I don't think Luka's won in the building yet, right? Dallas is the Knicks seem to own Luka and the Mavs at the Garden, so. It would be, Knicks at Dallas to start the season. Brunson back in the building. What kind of reception would he get? That'd be a cool one. I wouldn't mind that one.
Right,
it's not bad. Yeah, Utah you won't get. Even if Donovan's there, you wouldn't get that one. It'd be a good troll one also. Knicks Minnesota. You get have Spider try to dunk on Rudy Gobert. I love how I'm talking about like he's already on the damn team. They haven't even made the trade.
But you know what? I like how you're foreshadowing things to come, Alan.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. If the schedule comes out, here's the thing: if the schedule comes out and it's Knicks at Minnesota, The league's letting the whole world know. Yeah, that guy's going to the. Mitchell's going to be in there.
That's what I'm talking about.
Like the league's telling the world that. So that's why you won't see it.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be fantastic, and I would love
funny.
to see that. That would be so awesome. But we'll who knows? We'll wait and see. But that would be fun.
Do that.
And shout out to Parrish Duggar. Thank you for the generous super chat. He says, "Salute, Allen. Donovan feels like the Marbury trade." There is a big contention of Knicks fans that are not for the Donovan Mitchell trade. They want to see this young core grow and get the playing time and the minutes and see what we really have here. And obviously they're worried that the Knicks might give up a little too much if they do acquire Donovan. What do you think about giving up something? I know we talked about, you mentioned it earlier, but giving up something for a marquee type of player. I mean, you got to give up something. So
yes,
I mean, it's tough.
I understand. I understand the trepidation. I really do. Like, I completely understand that fear because, I saw the Marbury trade as a reporter who wasn't covering the NBA at the time, but I saw that trade go down. And when that trade went down, that was Isaiah's, signature move. That was his big move. And you thought, like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, here's a guy from Coney Island. He's a legend. He's an all-star. He is a tremendous player. Has had whatever issues with the previous stops that he's had, but the guy can play. He can ball, and point guard's such an important position. And you felt like, that's a good move. But obviously, it did not pan out. It did not work out. It was for various reasons. Enough. I think it's well documented. So I also know that people are referencing the Carmelo Anthony trade. And that's when I did cover. I was a beat writer when that trade went down. I was in LA for All-Star that whole weekend. I followed Melo around, like a puppy. I was everywhere he was. And that was months after I followed LeBron everywhere, for a better part of a year as a puppy as well. So I saw the Carmelo trade. And, are we still not over Timofey Mozgov? Like, honestly, are we still not over Timofey Mozgov? Like, what did you give up? You gave up a pick that turned into Jamal Murray. That's what you gave up, right? Like, if you want to think about what did you give up, that's what you gave up. But the other pieces that you dealt, and then the piece that pushed it over the top was Mozgov. And Donnie Walsh didn't want to go that far. He felt like, that's too much. I don't have to give that up. And then, as you know, the story goes, it's Prokhorov, the Nets owner, pretended to stay in it. So he was, just creating leverage, which didn't need to be there. But the Knicks just felt like we got to get this done. And they gave up Mozgov. Now, I haven't checked yet, but is Mozgov, is he in this year's Hall of Fame class? I can't remember. Is it this year's or is he on
I think
he
missed it
for next
by
year?
A little bit. Yeah, he missed it by
a little
bit.
Look, and I loved him. Like, he was fun to cover. Like, he was a good dude. All that said, this is not mocking him, but I think we just get a little too excited about, like, we gave up too much for him. And I don't know if that's fair to say in that deal, the Melo deal, right? There was a 13-player trade. There was a lot of pieces in that. People forget the Knicks got Chauncey Billups in that deal. Like, that guy could play.
No slouch.
Like, everybody forgets that Billups had the Knicks, like the Knicks and the Celtics in that series before Billups hurt his knee. Like, that was going to be a brawl, that series. And I've talked to Chauncey many times about this. He felt firm. He's like, if I don't get hurt, we win that series. He feels strongly that he goes, we had them. Because they had no answer for Melo. Melo was just too damn good in that series. Amari hurts his back in game 2, but it was Chauncey hurting his knee in that late in that game 1, and that game was a great game. So, you forget you had him, a point guard, a leader, all those things that you really need, and then obviously the injury, and then they decided to buy him out. So when people say I don't want to give up too much, I think about something that actually Alex Rodriguez said last night on the broadcast of the game with Michael Kay. And he said that prospects turn suspect really quick. So you hang on to someone too long, they're no longer valuable. So you got to look at your players and get a sense of what is he going to be and what's he going to be for us. And if we've got something else in that place, what are we holding on to him for? Like you make trades, right? You make deals. You have to give to get. I always tell people this. Now, there are certain players that I'm like, no, I am not moving him. Like, no. And then there's some where it'll suck to lose this player. I like this kid. I'd love to see him stay here. But you got to give to get. Like, you got to bleed a little bit. So I understand the trepidation of I don't want to give up too much. And I would tell Knicks fans, the team agrees with you. Otherwise, the deal would have been done already. Like, that's probably the best thing I can say to those fans who are, caught up in the idea of, I don't want to make this trade because I don't want to give up too much. I don't want to give up all these young players. Neither do the Knicks. They don't want to either. But you're going to have to give up something. This trade is not going to be made giving up 4 draft picks and, 2 veteran players. It's not going to happen like that. You're going to have to give up something. It's, I think, a level of making sure it's not too much. Like, if you're giving up a lot of draft picks, you shouldn't have, as I said earlier, I know I'm repeating myself. You give up a lot of draft picks, you don't want to give up a lot of prospects. You can't do both. It's one or the other, and they're more than willing to give up the draft picks. So that's where it's at, and that's why, again, nothing has been done yet, because I think the team agrees with the fan sentiment of not wanting to overpay.
That makes sense. That definitely makes sense, and I'm happy. I think, as Knicks fans, we won a lot. We've dealt with a lot of misery and uncomfortable moments as Knicks fans. It's nothing worse than trying to be a Knicks fan and plead your case to other people that are trying to downplay you being a Knicks fan. So you're always fighting. You're always like, yeah, whatever. Knicks are going to be good this year. You don't understand. We're building from the draft. We got these young guys. They're good. You just got to watch. They didn't get playing time. Don't worry. As they get more playing time, you're going to see more. We're always fighting, right? And so it's tough. But I will say that I am very happy with the fact that there's been a shift in the organization. I do think that Leon Rose is doing a good job. I think Scott Perry is doing fantastic as well. I think we're hard on these guys because we won a lot. But when you really look at what's being done or what's not being done, you got to be appreciative that it seems like these guys have a good idea of what they're trying to do. So I'm happy.
Yeah, I mean, there's enough like, you're not seeing knee-jerk type of moves, which is good. I thought draft night was interesting because while it looked like, there was a lot of indecision, they moved picks around, but I think they did it to build up their draft capital because there was a sense that they could get somebody like Donovan Mitchell. And the way to get him is to make sure you have more draft picks to offer than anybody else. So looking at the draft and where they were drafting, you think to yourself, are we going to draft somebody that's actually going to play in our rotation over the next 2 years? Right? And the answer is probably no. Now, did they want Jaden Ivey? Could they have moved up to get him? I mean, there was definitely an interest in getting, can they move up and get this guy? Because we think this guy's special. Yeah, there was an effort, but there was nobody wanted to help. Right? There was no way to move up.
Right.
So that option was out the door. So now your next option is, all right, well, we need a lot of draft capital if we're going to go after, a potential of this guy moving, Donovan Mitchell. So the choice was to do that. And so while it was happening, and I was covering the draft for ESPN, I was actually at the Barclays Center hosting the draft for the radio side of it. And as it's going down, of course, Spike Lee's there. There's several other people come by the table and they give you the hands out, like, what are we doing? And I just kind of said, this is building assets, guys. This is building assets. This is them looking at their roster and seeing that half the roster is 23 years old or younger. And you had a choice of adding another one or adding some picks that could get you an all-star. And they were able to maneuver it into draft picks that they hope will now be able to put a package together to get an all-star. So that's what they did. So, things that they're doing are not knee jerk. They're not panic moves. They're not confusion. These are plans. The dry erase board has plan A, plan B, plan C. They have how you got to go about it, what your options are. And that's literally what they did. So, I still say it's a wait and see kind of approach to if this trade can go down and they can add an all-star like Donovan Mitchell. But what you said about the front office is something that I think, we've all noticed, is that they last off season, Fournier, Kemba was sort of a last ditch kind of effort. Let's see if we can catch lightning in a bottle. And for a couple of games, it looked like they did. Fournier was you needed a guy who could shoot threes. You needed a guy that could create, but his defense, was something you compared to Reggie Bullock, was definitely not up to standard. So that took a while to figure out. But getting Jalen Brunson got them a point guard, which to me is the most important position on the floor, and they haven't filled that position in years. So Let's just see how this plan starts to come to fruition. But as I said, you're going to collect all these draft picks. You got to use them. And you're not going to use them to draft players. You're going to use them to acquire talent. And that's, I think, the final step here that I want to see how they accomplish it.
Yeah. Yeah. With that said, we know that Tibbs has a really tight-knit rotation. And if we look at this current team as is assembled today, what is Cam's role, if any, on this team? Or is he the odd man out, in your opinion?
I mean, if you look at the rotation and the minutes, he appears to be the odd man out. And I always say, who are you taking out, right? Like most coaches play a rotation of 9, and 8 guys get a bulk of the minutes. That 9th guy might get 5 minutes in the first half and doesn't see the light of day in the second half, right? You don't normally see a 10-man rotation unless there's foul trouble. But in the NBA, you're going, 9 deep, and 8 of them are getting the bulk of the minutes. Okay. So when I list the players to you, you got to tell me, well, who do you, when everybody's, well, Cam Reddish got to play. All right. So who sits? Who are you sitting? Now, those who said Alec Burks should sit, I understand. You didn't want to see a veteran play over a young guy. I understand that. I didn't understand that idea of using Burks as a point guard, but they just didn't have anyone to play that position last season. And Emmanuel quickly, as much as he really grew before our eyes, putting him with starters against starters was counterproductive for his development. No one wants to hear it, but that's true. It is true. But Cam Reddish is a 3, right? That's what he plays. He's a 3, maybe a little 4 when you're playing small ball. Who are you taking out? Who doesn't play? Obi Toppin doesn't play? Who's the guy that sits? That's not an easy question to answer because of the way your team is built and the players that you have. So, that's what makes, I think, this so difficult. So if Grimes needs to play and Quickly needs to play and Derrick Rose needs to play and RJ Barrett needs to play and Fournier needs to play and Brunson needs to play, I haven't admitted there's no Donovan Mitchell on the team, right? But I just named how many guys right there. They all got to play. And if you tell me Derrick Rose shouldn't play, you're crazy because when he's healthy, he's the second best player on the team. Right? RJ Barrett has to play. Quentin Grimes, he should play. Guy's a two-way player. I mean, he's growing by the minute. He's got to play. So again, who doesn't play? So that's the problem when it comes to Cam Reddish, and where is he on this team? What is his role? I just don't know what his place is. And that's why trading for him was curious when they did it. And not playing him at all was even more curious. So if they're going to make a deal, I would imagine they would like to put him in that deal so he gets an opportunity to play somewhere because he's 21 years old. He should be playing somewhere.
Right. Agreed. And I think that that's why, and shout out to Sim from NothinButKnicks, he thinks that, some of the assets that the Knicks did acquire was for Donovan because he was a part of the big plan. At least, that's how it shaked out to be with the hiring of Johnny Bryant and different things of that nature. Also, Yeah, right. And also salute to Parrish Duggan. Thank you for the super chat. Parrish Duggan mentioned that Donovan Mitchell is not like a Carmelo Anthony, so you got to be very careful when you're going after somebody and putting, giving up assets and players, thinking that he's going to come in and be that same type of guy. I mean, say what you will about Carmelo, he hasn't won a championship, but Carmelo was very special here. I think we loved him here. We just wish we put a better team around him, but maybe it's about, at that time we didn't have assets. I think we're in a much better position as an organization now to go after a star than we were back then when we went after Carmelo.
But we can't get it twisted. They put together a nice team with Melo. Like,
it was just
unfortunate
they had a
the
nice
way
run with
folks
that team.
got hurt and injured. They weren't bad.
I'm so glad you said that.
But it wasn't a team that could have longevity. Right.
Well, but what John said, though, I'm glad you said that. Because first of all, let's make something clear. Carmelo Anthony is one of the 5 best players to ever wear a Knicks uniform. All right? That's a fact. That's not an opinion. He's one of the 5 best players in franchise history. He's one of the best scorers the franchise has ever had. I covered him. Daily I was around him. This guy loved being a Knick. And I actually used to say to him all the time, like, that jersey's heavy, isn't it? It's heavy, right? Like, it's the heaviest jersey in the league, and no more heavy than for him. And he embraced it, loved it, wanted it, And when they made the trade, people forget that they were floundering. They were falling apart. They were a 500 team. Amari had a great start to that year. He was phenomenal. And all through December, he was one of the best players in the league. And they were a fun team. Mike played. They played wide open. They were just a fun group. But then injuries started kicking in. Amari started getting tired because he had to carry him every night. I remember a game in Oklahoma City, and it was right before the trade deadline. He was exhausted. And they had a lead, and they blew it because they were just tired. They ran out of gas. And it was him and, like, Ray Felton. Like, they really, there wasn't a lot on that team. But Mike could play 10 players a night because he liked to play fast and up-tempo and get up and down. So, you got to understand, like, fans fell in love with that team. But, if you really remember the moment, and I was there covering it on a daily basis, they were tired. Like, they were leaking oil. And making the playoffs was not a given. And so they make that trade, shakes up the roster dramatically. And as I mentioned, they added Chauncey. That's a vet. Sorry about that. They add Chauncey. They add, I forgot. They got another vet. They got a couple of vets, but the team got older quick, but got mature. And it was like, you saw the way they finished the season. I'm like, all right, you know what? And remember, they go into Miami. They beat Miami. And you just felt like it's a different team now. This is no longer like this young, exciting team. This is more of like a team of like vets who are coming in like, business trip. Now, the next year, injuries happened, insanity happened, and there were some, again, issues with Mike wanting to play a certain way and Melo saying, it's not how I play, and something had to give, and Mike left. D'Antoni did. But John's right. That next summer, it was a phenomenal offseason where everybody wanted to jump on board. Jason Kidd didn't want to quit before
Tyson
playing
Chandler.
New York, right? Sheed, they make the trade for Chandler. You could just see that group, and Felton comes back because he wanted to be part of it. Quentin Richardson came back to that damn team because he wanted to feel it. Like, those guys were all like, no, I want to be part of this. And there was a vibe about that group that I'll never forget. I mean, they won 54 games. Woody was a phenomenal coach. He understood that team. And that's the team of all the teams I covered, I was the closest to that group. I did a coach's show once a week with Woody. I was in the gym a lot with them. They let me behind the scenes a ton. So I really was just embedded. Like, I just felt connected to those guys. J.R. Smith, one of my favorite people in the world, like, just like around these guys. And you can just feel it. Like, it's the first time I can remember where it's like, man, all these guys love this. Remember Knicks tape? Like that, just became a thing where they just loved being Knicks. And that doesn't happen a lot. Like, honestly, it just wasn't a real thing. So it just was, again, it ran out of gas just right at the wrong time. Not sweeping the Celtics, which they should have done in the playoffs that year, and they didn't. They did a couple of bonehead things, and it cost them some time. Tyson got exhausted and got outplayed by Hibbert, and they just couldn't get out of that series. But it's a shame, but it is what it is. And then they make, again, this is the knee-jerk thing where they go get Bargnani, and that was a bad trade. And from that point is where it just started to, disintegrate.
Crumble.
But I digress. Donovan Mitchell is not Carmelo Anthony. I think it's fair to say that, right? He's not Carmelo Anthony. But I do believe you have to get he's also not 29 years old, 30 years old. He's still very young. You have to get higher echelon players if you want to be a higher echelon team. Mm-hmm. And I think the one thing that Melo showed everybody in his first 2 years is how much he woke up. And actually, it started with Amari. Amari had such a great run early that the building was lit up. And Melo noticed it, like, whoa, that's like, I want to be part of that, right? So now Melo wants to come to the Knicks. Like, it started to happen. Then other people saw the same thing, how Melo, it was just like, I used to love Sunday afternoon games. It was like being in church. It was just so much energy and so much optimism. And, because the building shook because you had a guy like that. Well, they haven't had a guy like that since that guy. And Mitchell might not be Carmelo Anthony, but if you've ever watched him, he has moments that can get a whole building excited, lit up. There's not really anybody on this roster that can do that. So you got to get somebody like that first, and then build from there.
Not to mention, he is great with the media. Like, as a PR person, he is exactly what you want to be in front of the media to talk about anything that's happening around Knicks universe. You know what I mean? And that's
and he's from New York. He's from New York. I think that's important. The idea of blood in the ground. I think it means something to him. I asked Jalen the same thing. I talked to Jalen Brunson earlier last week. And I asked him the same thing about that. Like, it just means something different, playing in New York and understanding it because you're a guy from, South Jersey. You understand it a little more. And he's like, oh, yeah, like, you get it. You understand. Like, Brunson was saying how, you remember last week when he and Randall and Obi lost in that Pro-Am in the Bronx.
Yeah.
And I said, like, you knew you weren't going to – well, I said, you knew you weren't going to hear the end of that, right? Like, you knew you weren't hearing the end of that. He's like, yeah, we knew. He's like, but like, we're here just to get some cardio, man. Like, it wasn't like that, and, but he understood it. Like, instead of being upset and mad and overreacting and saying, oh, these people don't get it, he just laughed. He's like, yeah. I was like, did it crush your mind? He's like, oh, yeah. Yeah, when the game ended, we were like, yeah, we're never hearing the end of this one. Like, it just, he gets it. So,
right.
And of course, it'll be forgotten eventually, but for now, it's his first loss.
That's it. You just got to win that first one against the Boston Celtics. That's all.
That's right.
Tatum's still going to be on hiatus. Tatum is still going to be on hiatus. He's going to rest a bit,
Right. We get them early. Maybe they won't be at full strength yet. Yeah, maybe that's the best time. I don't know. And the other thing about Donovan Mitchell, he does love the colors. Okay. See what I did there, John? Huh? I didn't mention the team he loves.
The Mets thing.
The colors.
This is the Mets thing again. Yeah.
Sorry. Well, no, I didn't say it, but I just said the colors.
Killing me.
Hey, what you can tell? If I've also seen him rock an Islanders jersey, that's blue and orange as well, so I'm okay with that.
I'm telling you, he loves the colors. There you go. I only just got 2 more questions for you, Alan. Get you out of here. I know it's kind of late. Everybody wants to get to their bedtime. For some of us, we need to eat dinner. Anyway, that's okay. Right. It comes with the territory. You know how it is.
I know the life. Trust me, I know the life.
I know you do. So, all right. This question is a little more selfish. I haven't seen anybody ask the question in recent times to anybody who can give a good opinion about it. But I feel like I owe it to the Knicks community and content creators like myself who do this. I just wonder, because I'm curious, because we're never going to know. We never get that inside take on how it's perceived. I wonder how, if you even know this, I wonder how media and the players themselves view Knick content creators. Because we're not mainstream. We cover the team because we're fans. We love the teams that we root for. But I'm wondering if if we're looked at in a negative light because of fans can be very opinionated. Well, that's without question. I'm just wondering how people might view us as to this genre of what we do.
I can only speak for myself. This is what a lot of the digital stuff has, only come to fruition over the last 5 years or so. Mm-hmm. And it's become like another division of the team's coverage, right? Like it used to just be the newspapers, the beat writers, right? And then, of course, the network. And, then bloggers came in and you had that. But this is, having these shows is a completely, a new addition, a new angle, a new division, like I said, to the coverage. And speaking for myself, I find it, I like it because it's a great way to just get a feel for what people are thinking and feeling. I don't love using Twitter as a gauge for how fans feel, because I feel like Twitter, it's, there are people that can just be, prolific with their tweets and just like a stream of like 20 tweets, and they'll be in the algorithm. And you'll feel like, oh, wow, well, that's how people feel. And it's not a good sample size, right? It's you'll get the most angry or you'll get the most prolific, the ones that have a lot to say, where there's might be some fans that, are a little like more thoughtful or conversational and less, I just use prolific because it's just voluminous, right? So I don't like using Twitter as a gauge for how people feel. I think this is the type of stuff that gets you the feel of how the fans, really feel about it. Conversations, emotions, you're not trying to break stories. And I feel that's what also makes me kind of hesitate about blogging, because sometimes bloggers are trying to make, get the clicks. So they want to have like, oh, I heard this, so I saw this and whatnot. And, that's great. Maybe somebody, maybe you don't, but that can sometimes create a lot of confusion. And there are some, and I don't mean it's just in Knicks land. I mean, overall in sports coverage, I've noticed this, where there's a lot of people that have blogs and they're looking for clout, and they'll come up with things that they'll say they heard that are way off. And there are things that they might say that are just obvious that come to fruition. And they're like, see, I told you. And it's like, well, I mean, anyone could have guessed that, right? So that's where I think I get some hesitation with some blogs. But this is, to me, as personal as it gets, because all you guys are doing is talking about your opinions and your reactions and your perspectives, your takes, and that's it, right? Like I don't feel like there's an agenda to what you guys do and other channels that I've gone on. I think it's just a passion that you have and you share with others. I look at this like as if you had a venue. Like, hey, we've got this bar. It's this Knicks bar. And every game, we all meet at the bar after the game. And we talk about the game together. But instead of doing it at the bar, you do it here. And what you're going to get is the raw, unfiltered, passionate emotion that I feel like is the most genuine part of being a sports fan. And so, I don't know how other people view it, but I know how I view it. And I view it as the most real thing you can get when you're trying to get a sense of how do fans feel, whether it's about the team, whether it's about this win, whether about the trade. This is to me where you'll get the most genuine reaction.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Just the question I always wanted to ask, and I felt like this might be
a good question
opportunity to ask.
It's a good question. It's a good question.
Yeah, and I think you hit it spot on. We're fans who just now we're graced with this platform that allows us to give our thoughts about our favorite team, or what's going on. It could be any team, just opinions about stuff. And John and I always talk about it. We started Still Knicks fans because we took a shot at,
because someone didn't want to do it alone. Listen, I've been forever telling Ron he has the right just temperament about the way he approaches anything that he does. And I was like, you would be perfect doing sports. You would like, this is your love. This is your thing. He also loves R&B, by the way. But I was like, this is your thing. Like, you should be podcasting. You should be doing something in this realm in media, which he doesn't and for his 9 to 5. But I always felt like he should be doing it. And so at the moment that he said to me, you think this is possible? I was like, hell yes. Let's just do it. And then I was sort of kind of like the guy who was like, hey, I'll do it with you. If you don't want to,
you pushed them, right? So, yeah. No, you pushed them. I get it. Everybody needs that, that confidence next to them, right, John? That's what you provide is the confidence, right? That's what you bring, and that's what makes a good duo. Is. Yeah, that's what makes a good duo. And I imagine I just get a sense that like when someone's going to get fired up, I have a feeling it's going to be John. I just have a feeling.
Oh. John is the guy who brings the energy, unless something's going on with my Mets, because I will lose it for my Mets. But we'll see. We're both Giant fans, so I got to see how the season goes. We might lose it together. We gotta,
that's true.
See where we're going here.
Yeah. I have a feeling with this Giants season, you might be paying a lot of attention to the Mets and Knicks in October more than you will at football.
Oh, just saying. I will agree.
I'm just.
I'm going to have to agree. Like we have no reason to believe otherwise.
You're right, but we can hope. We can hope, Alan.
Yeah, of course. There's always hope.
Yeah. And so last question before we get you out of here. Thanks to the chat once again. If you're just tuning in, we're talking to the great Alan Hahn. It's been a fantastic conversation. This is definitely one you don't want to miss. So if you just came in, hit that replay button once this is all over, because it's a great watch. I know I'm going to watch it again. I watch everything again, but that's just me. I'm neurotic, but whatever. So the last question is just expectations, if you have any, about the upcoming season for the New York Knicks. I don't think, if I'm not mistaken, have you ever did a prediction about wins and losses? I don't think I've seen you do one of those in the past.
Oh, we always do. We do over under all the time. We always do over under. Yeah, we always do over under. Vegas has. No, please. Are you kidding me?
So
I can. I'll rehearse
you
here.
Have an over and under.
The over under from Vegas is 39.5. And right. I think it's, remember now last year was 37 wins for a team that blew a ton of 20-point leads, and also couldn't, really had a terrible record in clutch last 5 minutes of a game. They just could never close out a game, right? And they still just somehow got to 37 wins. I'm taking the over on 39.5. I mean, they're going to be a better team. The East is tough, so when you say, they're a playoff team, I mean, I think right now, if you're looking at everyone in the East, I think you could find them more in the 7-10 group than you would the 1 through 6. I think that's fair. I don't think I'm being critical. I don't think I'm being a hater. But I do think an over 39.5 is something that would be a reasonable number. And I mean, I'm not saying way over. I mean, it could be 43. It could be 42. It could be, around 500. Now, if they get Mitchell, I'd have to reassess. I mean, I still take the over, but I'd have to reassess a win total only based on, well, what did they give up from the roster that now impacts their rotation? But I do think this is a team, and I felt the team last year should have been a team that, battled for a playoff spot and should have been there, and they weren't. They finished the season better. They weren't good, obviously, in the middle of the year. They were terrible in the middle of the year. And you can't survive a run like they had, where I believe they were like 4-20 or something. They had a terrible 20-game run. But if you look at the team and the coaching, as much as a lot of people have their issues with Tibbs, I don't. I think he's one of the most organized, prepared coaches in the league, and his teams are prepared and organized. They should be a team with a winning record, and they should be competing for a playoff spot, at least in the play-in.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. I think that's the best way to look at it. I think we're all trying to, at least most sensible Knicks fans, we're not jumping out the window. We're not doing 50 burgers and all this stuff is going to happen. Not anymore. Not anymore.
Nobody's yelling bing bong? Is Bing Bong over? Is that not?
I think that was a
done?
killer. They need to retire Bing Bong. I'm sorry. We need something new.
It really never got as good as Bing Bong, did it? Never got as good as that. Well, are you guys seeing that? Are you guys? I mean, if I gave you 39 and a half, if I gave you 39 and a half,
I'm a little bit more
taking the over
with it.
This guy's
I'm
this
taking
guy's
the
out
over.
of control.
Yeah.
He's out of control with his over, though.
Well, I just did the math in my head. I feel like we had 37 wins. We lost about 6 or 7 games. Let's just say 6 games by 20 when we had a 20-point lead and we kind of faltered because we weren't good down the stretch. I think that could be overcome. So I gave us those 6 wins. So I'm saying 43. I think I said
43. You said 45.
I did say 45, but I'm settling on 43. I'm switching up.
45.
Just like a Knicks fan.
Down. That was way too much.
I mean, you go through the East right now. 42. Yeah, 40. I think that's right now. Yeah, it's fair. Now again, you got Boston, Milwaukee, right? Miami,
76.
The Philly. That was your 4. And then 5, 6. I mean, Chicago's been very good. I mean, will they stay good? Cleveland, very good. Toronto, right, has been very good. Now we're 7 teams deep now, right? Like, I mean, there's none of those teams can you feel right now. Now, again, things can change over time and development and whatever. But right now, as it stands, I would not put the Knicks ahead of those teams. Mm-hmm. And I didn't mention Brooklyn, because they're a wild card. Who knows what they're going to be, right? But that would be 8. Right. So now you're in that place, 9, 10, where, I mean, they've got to be right there, don't they? Washington and those teams, Charlotte, I didn't even mention Atlanta. How about that? Didn't even mention Atlanta. They added Dejounte Murray. Didn't even mention Atlanta. Mm-hmm. See what I mean? The East has some really good teams now. And that's why you can't go 1 through 10. And, it's hard to put the Knicks roster right now ahead of most of those teams 1 through 10. So play in, and hope that you get some development out of a couple of guys that maybe like you say, oh, he took a step this year. Oh, he's a lot better this year. Oh, whatever it is, it starts to click the right way it's supposed to click. And then you can reassess, midway through the season and say, okay, well, we didn't know this about the team. Right. So that's why I say what I say. It's not being, it's not being a hater. It's being a realist, but it's also leaving the door open for it to be better than expected. But that's where it is right now. And
that's all real Knicks fans want anyway. Like diehard Knicks, all we want to do is be better each year, right?
Yeah.
Like if you
eventually
follow
you want to get to a point
journeys,
where you're, yeah. Oh, please. Yeah, eventually you want to be a contender. Right. Eventually you got to get to that point. And that's, but it's still going to be baby steps to get there. And to get to a contender status, not only do you have to be able to acquire a superstar, you got to develop one. You got to take a guy and turn him into one. Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet, Maxey.
RJ
you've
Barrett.
Got to find, well, that's what I mean. Like, who is it that becomes that? Did everybody think that Jaylen Brown was going to be a superstar, did everybody think Marcus Smart was going to be an impact player the way he is? Like, this is what I mean. Who is your guy that is going to be such a glue piece that you had no idea was going to be that? All the good teams, that's what they have. Darius Garland, he was taken after RJ.
Out of nowhere.
Like, that's what you've got to get. You've got to get to a point where it's not like someone that's easy. Oh, I just traded for James Harden. Yeah, of course you're going to be good, right? I just traded for Kevin Durant. Like, no, you've got a good player, but look at this dude. Like, where did this guy come from? Out of nowhere. Fred VanVleet wasn't even drafted. G League player. That's what I mean. Like, it's got to be that. Tyler Hero. It's got to be a player that emerges into a key player. That's how you take that next step as a franchise. So we'll see. We'll see who that can be this year.
I like it. Well, once again, guys, We're here with the great Alan Hahn, and I see what you guys been putting in there. I see some 39, some 40, some 41, some 52. Ooh, okay. I thought I was being aggressive, man. I don't know about that. 46. Okay. I mean, listen. Anything can happen, but in this is a tough East. The East is the new West, so I don't know. That's a tough one. 52. Woo. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah, Alan, I want to thank you for being here with us. This really made my day. I know it made John's day. Jose's in the back. He's like, "Hey man, I want to talk too." Jose, do you have anything you want to say to the great Alan Hahn since you're here? He's a man of many words.
Yeah, I see it. I like it. I appreciate it. Jose got this thing going too. Got me finally to get whatever my tech issues were and got it all going. So this has been. I really enjoyed this. It's something I like to do. I just love to chop it up and get away from a lot of the national stuff and having to be a little more buttoned up and just be able to just kick it, talk some Knicks, talk some hoop, and I enjoyed this. So thanks. Thank you. Thanks for everybody that was watching. And keep me honest. You know where to find me. Keep me honest.
Yeah. No, listen. I mean, we know where to find it. We'll be looking at it. Maybe one day we'll get you back in the future. But thank you for being here with us.
Thank you.
Now we got to bother Wally and Monica and add them to the mix as well.
No
Make
doubt.
them still Knicks fans. But yeah. So where can we find you? You've got a lot going on.
Every day on ESPN Radio on my show, noon Eastern, and we do talk. I talk a ton of NBA. Bart Scott, obviously the big NFL guy, played for the Jets, played for the Ravens, Pro Bowler, linebacker. He's hysterical. He's really funny. He's a big Pistons fan, so we're going to go to the preseason opener at the Garden and get on each other's cases right there. We're probably going to bet on that one. But yeah, every day on ESPN Radio, you catch me there at noon. We do talk a lot of Knicks, a lot of NBA. I'm on, occasionally on Get Up, when they talk NBA, or if I'm hosting, I'll do that. I've done the morning show as well. And then obviously MSG, when the season begins, I'll be there with Wally, with Monica, with Bill, getting ready for another season. And as I mentioned at the top, for me and Wally, it's 10 years of us fighting and arguing and getting on each other's cases and everything else. And, it's all fun. So yeah, those are the places to get me.
It's a great milestone.
We're glad we can find you at so many different areas, and it's just more Alan Hahn for everybody.
It's good to be here, guys.
Thank you again. You have a great rest of your night. Get some rest. Whatever you do to unwind, enjoy yourself, and we'll be looking out for you on all your platforms and everywhere you're located. Especially, we can't wait till the season starts.
Yeah, no doubt. It's going to be here sooner than you think. Thank you, boys.
Thank you, Alan.
You.
So, John, this was another good one, man. And it's nothing better than chopping it up with my boy, having Jose in the background, bringing this to all the still Knicks fans out there watching. Thank you guys for tuning in as always and being here with us.
Wait.
John.
Wait.
Wait. Oh, now you want to speak,
exciting.
Right? Now that Alan's gone?
Yeah, I didn't want to take, the spotlight away from him. But listen, I think right now we need to show love to our fans watching us right now. Because I couldn't keep up with all the comments that were coming in for tonight's show. It was so hard.
Crazy.
So in this moment, this is for you guys.
Yes, definitely for the fans. Thank you guys for tuning in and rocking with us and supporting the show,
right.
and supporting Alan Hahn being here. This has been a great one, man. Thank you guys.
Yeah, we can't do it without you guys and your support, and we appreciate you, all of you that jump on the chat and have conversations around our Knicks fans and sort of Knicks fandom. It's an amazing thing, and I'm extremely grateful to have you all, partake in sort of what we're trying to create and bring to you all. Appreciate you all.
Yeah, this has been fantastic. And we're on our road to 2,000 subscribers, guys. We're getting close. We're at like 1780 something. You know what I mean? We're 200 away.
Almost there. Almost there.
Thank you guys for supporting. Hey, John, any final words, my brother?
As always, stay blessed, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
There you go, guys. Listen, first off, let me say this right now so I don't forget. I can't believe I forgot last week. Shout out to my guy, Jose, holding us down on the ones and twos, as always. Appreciate you, my brother. Thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate you guys for giving me this opportunity. You know, it's fun times.
No, man. I wouldn't do it with anybody else, man. That was a compliment. Because I appreciate you, Jose.
I know. I appreciate you. I mean, because technically you started the podcast with John and I wasn't involved, so you could have done it with, someone else without me.
I mean, if you're gonna get into particulars, Jose, I was trying to say something nice, but if you're gonna really like needle down on the truth, that's another story. Listen, I said it before. We're the Three Musketeers, la tres mosqueritos, man. Come on. Anyway, thank you guys for being here. I thought that was pretty good. I mean, this is a tough crowd. Guys, the chat, you have no idea how tough it is for me. I go through a lot, man. Sometimes I cry, but I don't want to show it. It's cool.
Let's keep that bottle then. Come on.
Yeah, it's okay. Thank you guys once again. As I always say, tell a friend who tells a friend who tells another friend. Still Knick fans. We'll be back again. Look for us on the NBA Report this Thursday, 8 p.m. on the Nothing But Knicks Network. Also, check us out on Saturday, 11 a.m. Know the ledge. You got to know the ledge. We're going to need to know the ledge all throughout this season. So definitely tune in.
Let's give a shout out to Tony Croak, because we were talking earlier about some of these nicks and bruises type things. You know what I mean? So shout outs to Tony Croak, because there was some of that was relevant in our conversations. Just wanted to say that.
Yeah, yep. That's a fact. That's a fact. Shout out to everybody, man. Shout out to all the fellow fans, the Knick community. We got to win, man. Eventually, it's going to happen for us. It's going to take a little time, but don't worry. We won't be the laughing stock forever. We'll get it going. Don't you worry about it. We'll get the last laugh in the end. It's okay. Anyway, thank you guys once again. I hope you had a very great, rest of your night. Very peaceful. This is a fantastic show. Watch the replay if you're just tuning in, or just if you just liked watching it, watch it again. Why not? I know I will. So we'll catch you on the next one. You guys have a great night. Stay blessed, as John says, and take care.